So you're broke on SL again. The best ways for grinding extra silver lions include wagers, orders, boosters, and other obscure methods, including your game mode and vehicle type. However, you can engage in your credit card, buy some golden eagles, get some premium count, and if you pair this with premium vehicle, you will make 2 to 3 times more silver than you could ever before. All jokes aside, you don't need to buy anything to earn thousands more silver every single game, and in less than 2 hours you can grind over 2 million silver. Now to start out with, I'll be going over air wagers. My personal favorite wager for air is the Unstoppable wager. The best wagers for air are the Unstoppable wager, Battle Victory, and Best Squad. The Unstoppable wager requires you to destroy the most air, AI ground, or naval targets in an air battle, or destroy the most ground units in a ground battle. The most common way to complete this wager is by going after ground targets with a strike aircraft at lower BRs, or you can use high BR jets, as people will often not focus ground targets as much as they do in lower BRs, which I will show later. This is the easiest, as you can stay on one side of the map and farm, although you do have the risk of being intercepted by enemy players. There's less skill required for this. The only requirement is the vehicle has to be rank 3 or above. For propeller striker craft, I would recommend something like the AM1 or the Wyvern. It's just, if you have striker craft available, usually it makes it easier as they get an air spawn, therefore you can get to the targets faster without having to worry about interceptions as much. For high tier air, you can use anything you have. You do not even need to bring rockets or bombs, as the amount of AR targets that will be gone after is only at the end of the game, once everyone is already dead. So if you get 1, 2 at the beginning of the game, and then towards the end you get another couple, or you destroy some throughout the game, often people will not have enough to grab the wager from you. Oftentimes 4 to 8 is the maximum you'll need. The benefit of playing low tier is that you are able to see naval targets more often, and if you do, then by destroying 2 or even 1 of these ships will lead you to completing the wager for that battle, as nobody goes after them and they are hard to kill. The one downside is that they often have AA, and if they're a heavily armed ship like heavy cruisers, then they have enough AA to the point you will likely not be able to continue fighting. The one bad thing about this wager is you don't know how many ground kills anyone else will get, and for example, this game on Mazda here, I died after getting 2 ground kills and I somehow still won the wager, while other times I can get 20 and lose it because someone got a few more. The other bad thing is that it takes 10 battles minimum to complete. However, these likely go higher than that, as every game you play doesn't always win this wager. The other 2 wagers for air that are useful and easy to complete are Battle Victory and Best Squad. These 2 require more skill than the Unstoppable wager, however, are arguably easier as you don't have to be focusing on anything. These are both done easier if you have a squadron to play with. If you have friends you can play with to increase the number of people in your squad to coordinate attacks, it can help increase how much you win, so helping the Battle Victory wager. Or alternatively, the Best Squad wager takes the average score of every player in the squadron, and whatever squadron in the game that has the highest is awarded Best Squad. This is why it is easier with a larger squad. However, if you cannot get someone to play with, then the game will set you with a random person in the game. This is not always optimal, as you don't know how well they will play, and if you're not a great player, you don't know if they'll carry. If you're not an air main, you can instead play ground. Ground has more options to pick from, although my top 4 picks for wagers on ground are destroy 5 units and destroy 10 units, along with best squad and battle victory wagers again. Destroy 5 units requires you to destroy 5 units in an arcade game. In realistic, you have a ×2 multiplier on every single kill, so you only need to get 3 kills in order to complete the wager for that battle. Similarly, the destroy 10 units wager has a 2× multiplier for kills in realistic, so if you play that game mode, you can only have to get 5 kills to complete the wager. Arcade, you would have to get 10. Best squad and battle victory are easier in ground than air, as you have more respawns, therefore you have more chances to win the game and to get higher score. Again, having a squadron or friends to play with can increase the likelihood of winning this wager. There are 2 other wagers which you can use but are not always the greatest. Wingman requires you to get the most assists in the game. This is easily done if you have a light tank where you can scout enemies, and by scouting them, if they get killed during that scout, you get an assist. This is an extremely easy way to farm assists. While it might not be the most interesting gameplay, it's quite easy, as you also get 500,000 if you complete all stages of the wager. Hero of the Sky requires you to destroy the most air targets. This one is easily completed if you use a AA throughout the game, or you play as a anti-air role in a plane. However, these last 2 are not my favorite, as you are restricted to classifications of vehicles you can use in ground battles, so I don't always use them. However, they do make quite a bit of credits if you are able to complete them. The last thing about wagers is you should check on how many stages you have to complete the wager and how many stages you are able to fail before losing the wager. Once the wager ends, you receive all credits that you gain from the stages that you won. You do not have to win the entire wager to get the credits. It'll just give you the capped amount that you got due to how many stages you won. Wagers that require only 3 games will take usually close to half an hour to complete. Wagers that have 5 games to complete the wager usually needs an hour to complete, while wagers that require 10 games to complete will usually take upwards of 2 hours. I find myself to be around 2 hours. While this time is variable based off how long the games are that you play, the type of game that you play, so air or ground, and how many you fail. You also should look at how much the wager gives at the end. The one wager I would recommend not to try is Mission Maker, as this is very luck based and not skill based. You can easily get the first kill, however getting the last kill is very difficult and requires more luck than skill, so I would not recommend. For wagers, you can wager a different amount of silver lions, granting you different amounts of rewards at the end. I wouldn't recommend reducing this to less than 75%. Oftentimes you can leave it at the initial amount, and it's only going to be up to 10,000 silver lions, so you don't need to worry you're going to be losing too many, as oftentimes just winning the first stage will get you the same amount back. The next way that will increase how much silver you make per game, rather than over a course of multiple games, is orders. These are often forgotten about and can grant you 100, 200,000 silver lions extra every single game if you play right. These require more timing, luck, and skill, more emphasis on skill than wagers do. For air battles, my most recommended orders you can use is anti-mech and AAA. Anti-mech just requires you to destroy the most ground targets in that allotted 5 minutes that you get. This is not as profitable as you only get 500 silver lions without premium and maybe 1,000 to 2,000 with premium. And while it does triple how much you make in that 5 minutes of ground targets, it's not as worth it and should be safe for ground. Next one is the AAA order. This one can easily stack and can grant you hundreds of thousands of silver lions every game. If used right, you can activate it right before you get into a battle. You can then go and kill as many people as you can. You must tie or have the highest amount of kills for this order to affect how much credits you make. So you need to make sure that what you're playing is something you know how to play, and you're playing a BR that you're familiar with. Oftentimes I would recommend to play lower tier, since orders do not have a minimum rank. You can use as low as you'd like. However, if it's too low, you don't have the higher multiplier for on the vehicle. If you are able to grab a low tier premium, whether this be through buying it or earning it, which I'll explain later, it can be highly effective. My recommendation for orders on ground is anti-mech and AA. Once again, anti-mech is by far superior, as you see a lot more ground vehicles, and you can easily stack up to 5 kills in a 5-minute period. If you're not as skilled, this order can still be done. However, it's a little more difficult, and you can use lower tier vehicles. The other order you can use, which is effective at both air and ground, is the Be the Best order. This requires you to get the highest amount of score in the 5 minutes of the order being active. This grants 10,000 in arcade and 15,000 in realistic. However, it's not as good as it has a set amount rather than a multiplier amount. Multiplier amounts are much better as it's based off how well you do, and the more you do this, the better you'll be at it, so you can increase it to 100, 200,000 every game. I would recommend playing whatever mode you're strongest in, whether that be ground or air, whether that be arcade or realistic. Do whatever you place the highest on the team with or get the most kills with. However, our realistic does have higher percentages when it comes to multipliers, and similarly air has higher multipliers than ground because you have no respawn, but it's oftentimes more luck based and you can just have a Gaijin moment where you don't get anything. But again, I would recommend playing whatever you're best at. Some of the orders I would not recommend to use is Blind Hunt and Avenger. These are terrible wagers as they only give 5,000 silver, and there's no even guarantee that the order will target you. The other two, which you can use but I wouldn't recommend. However, if you do use these, I'd only use them in ground. These are Domination and Jack of all trades. Domination needs you to kill 3 players the fastest, while Jack of all trades require to destroy 3 different vehicle types. This one is easier to be done at lower BRs as there is a higher variety of vehicles in play, which you can destroy, both in air and ground, but I would recommend ground. These 2 orders don't give as much silver and are more luck based, as you don't know if you'll see that in the span. The last of the best ways to make silver lions is through boosters. You got 2 kinds of boosters, RP and SL. You want SL for credits or silver lions. They come in 10% all the way up to 500%. You can get these from a variety of ways, including the daily login, the battle pass, rewards from battle trophies, crates, and rewards from playing specific game modes. You can also buy them in the Warbond shop. Oftentimes, people will be convinced that boosters directly impact your game, whether you get a down tier or an up tier, whether you get a terrible map or a good map. Oftentimes they think the higher the booster, the worse the matchmaking is going to be and the worse the games are going to be. So use them at your own discretion. I find that I'm able to play pretty well or pretty average with a 100%, 200% booster, then I can make the directly correlation of 2 or 3 times as much credits for every action you do. A booster will take an action, so this could be capping a base, destroying a target, getting an assist. Anything that you do, even just playing the game. So action will grant you more SL because it takes the base value. It takes whatever percentage is the booster, say 20%. I'll take 20% of that and then add the 20 to the total. Usually the smaller the booster, the more games it has, you can use it in. So a 10% will have 20 games. A 20% will have 10 games. A 50 will have 3, and then boosters over 100 have 1 game. If you're not a great player, usually you're looking for the smaller boosters, lower than 100, where you can use them over multiple games rather than have it confined to that single game where you have to play well that game and do well, or else you're going to completely waste the booster. I would heavily recommend for SL playing the thing you play the best in, that you get the best score in, that you can do the most things in. However, I will say, as I will elaborate on later, the rank or BR of your vehicle impacts how high the percentage multiplier on the vehicle. For the reserve vehicles, it'll have like a 50% or a 10% SL booster on it, while a top tier vehicle might have 3, 4, 500% SL. This is for 2 reasons: to balance out the cost of operating the vehicle, so repairing it and purchasing modules and then purchasing next vehicle if there is a next vehicle. If you're not able to buy boosters from the War Bond shop because you don't have any War Bonds, or you already used up everything, all the boosters you had from daily logins and trophies and everything else, what you can do is you can come over here, you can come up and change your game mode. You're going to want to click on Air Assault or Ground Assault. These 2 modes will grant you once a day with a single booster. It can be anything from the 10% to the 500%. It can be RP or SL. It is a team-based game mode, so you will need to work in a team, and it is also made easier if you have friends to play it with or squadron members to play it with, as it adds more competent and reliable teammates. The longer you're in the game for, or if you complete it, the higher the booster will be. If you make it all the way to the end, it'll likely be a 200 to 500% booster. If you only get a third of the way done, you might only get a 50 or 75% booster. The thing about these boosters is that will only be able to be used for a single game, so you will have to see about trying to win, and you can only do it once a day. You can get 2 boosters from playing both air and ground assault. The one bad thing is it takes a long time to complete these. It can take upwards of half an hour. One of the things that might be holding you back from gaining tons more silver lions is the game modes you're playing. Going from arcade to realistic will get you much more silver lions for an action. You can look at your vehicle. You can hover over it when you're in the arcade menu. So if you have arcade selected, you can look and see what the booster is. Then if you change over to realistic, you can see how much higher that booster goes. Again, ground will have a smaller multiplier because you're able to respawn both in different vehicles and the same vehicle once. Air has a higher multiplier because it has a single life and you don't know if you'll be able to even do anything in that life. You could be screwed over by Gaijin, a whole bunch of things, and you don't know. So what you want to do is play what you play the best, strictly speaking, for making credits. However, if you are an arcade player, I assume you're a newer player. Not always, but I would recommend trying to switch over to realistic, as it's not terribly hard to get used to. If you need credits quickly, play what you're good at. If that's arcade, play arcade. However, in the long run, realistic will grant you more credits. As for BRs, the higher you go in BR, the higher the multiplayer on that vehicle is going to be. Some of the only exceptions to this is premium vehicles. You can have a 1.0 premium vehicle. It'll have maybe 100 to 300% credit booster, depending on if you have a premium account or not. This is going to be less than a top tier vehicle because top tier requires more credits to play. However, you get more credits. If you do the equal amount, if you have a premium at lower tier, oftentimes that will be more profitable than playing high tier, unless you're an excellent high tier player. But most times, playing that 1.0 premium vehicle you got from underneath your couch cushions oftentimes will grant you more credits, as one is a lower BR, so you'll meet more new players and can seal club. I don't ever recommend seal clubbing, but if you're trying to make quick credits, it's a easy way and it's not going to tear your soul apart. You can also, if you have no premiums, which you don't need, I would recommend playing rank 4 to 7 in both air and ground, as I find is the easiest to play and grants you the most credits. If you're not able to play, as in you do not have that BR, or you're not good in that BR, you can always go down until you're at a BR that you're enjoying or you're good at playing. I would never recommend playing rank 1 or 2 if you're trying to go in credits, due to the fact the multipliers are so little. You're going to get maybe 30,000 without premium. I find that I play the best in and then get the most credits at rank 6 to 7 in ground. It's not terribly try hard, but you also can grind out pretty quickly as it has modern MBTs, which are a lot faster, therefore the gameplay is usually faster and the games go quicker. Now I'll be talking about the unspoken game modes of War Thunder. This includes Simulator and Naval. Simulator, again, has a higher Silver Lions multiplier than Realistic, and much more so than Arcade. However, Simulator is much different than Realistic, or very much different than Arcade. So, unless you're a Simulator player or want to try out a challenge, go ahead and play Simulator. I would recommend Ground, as it makes a lot more sense. You just have to memorize which nations are on the team and not to shoot allies. There are other videos which showed you how to play Simulator. Air Sim, I would be careful playing, as the BR brackets are very scuffed, and with the addition of Fox 3s, it has made it difficult to play. Although I'm not a sim player, I have tried it, and it is interesting. Now, the best game mode to grind credits is Naval. The Silver Lion boosters on naval vehicles is extremely high. They're on par with ground premium vehicles of rank 5 or higher. They make a huge amount of credits for just a couple kills. From my friend that plays naval, he recommends playing Arcade, as it's by far the easiest and least jank. So I only recommend to play this at your own discretion. There is the equivalent of Naval Simulator, which is Enduring Confrontation. These can go on for hours, and if you sit through it, you can make a lot of credits. I do not know how much, as I have not attempted to play Naval that much, and very much not enough to see about Enduring Confrontation. So if you're willing to go to any lengths without paying to grind credits, Naval would be the best option. Now, the last aspect, and quite honestly the easiest, quickest way to grind credits in the game, is through handing Gaijin your credit card. At the start of the video I joked about it, but this is seriously the fastest way to grind credits. Premium account I would recommend to get only if you know that you're going to be playing for the duration that you bought. Say you buy a month. Are you sure you're going to be playing for that month? Because you want to make your money worth it. I've bought a month before and then only played 2 weeks out of that month. While it is cheaper to buy premium account in longer times, I wouldn't buy more than a month if you don't know how long you're going to play. And if you buy a year where you save the most, per day, I would only get it on discount. The other aspect of premiums is premium vehicles. If you want something cheap, if you don't know how long or how much you're going to play, which you should know if you're going to buy premium account, then a premium vehicle can easily substitute for that. If you buy just a cheap like $10 premium that's like rank 2, rank 3, you can use this to make hundreds of thousands of credits. Alternatively, you're able to get some free low-tier vehicles from grind events. Recently, they have changed how they're doing grind events, but they used to offer 2 vehicles. The main one, which was usually a higher tier vehicle, and a low tier one. This low tier one you'd get within 2 stages of the grind event, which is very easy to come by. And for example, this J9 early I got from a grind event, and it has allowed me to get so many credits. When I pair it with boosters, when I pair it with orders, I can easily make 100, 200,000 a game. And these games are quite stress-free, and you're only up against some good players that are skill clubbing along with you. Or you're playing against equal skilled players if you're not a great player. Oftentimes, premiums will be better than anything in the tech tree at the BR, so you're paying to win. Premium vehicles are better if you don't know how much you're going to play, and therefore, I would also recommend to not buy a high tier premium unless you're a player that's already been to high tier. Your teammates will hate it, and you will end up hating it, as you don't know what you're doing, and will often not help your team. If you want some sort of premium that are a bit higher, I would recommend in Air to grab a rank 4 premium or a rank 5 premium. So late props, early jets. Usually late props are better. Yes, you will find more sweaty players around this BR, as they also want to grind credits easily. However, if you are going to buy a high tier premium, do your research, find out which one is good, which one fits your playstyle. If you don't know what one fits your playstyle, you shouldn't be looking to buy one, in my opinion. If you ever consider buying a large amount of premium, I would recommend waiting until there's a sale. There's going to be War Thunder's anniversary coming up where a lot of things go half off. So if you're looking to buy, this would be the time to do it. My friend always goes and buys a year of premium every time his is about to run out, so he never doesn't have premium to grind with. And it's an effective way, and while it can be expensive at the time, you can get it for the entire year. So if you know you're going to continue to play throughout the year, you'll make your money's worth. As for our top tier premium, $70 premium. I have one myself. I have not played it enough yet to warrant buying it, but I'm sure I will. And it does, if you know what you're doing, it can make a huge amount of credits, not to mention how much it helps to grind your tech tree. When you're looking into buying, I would recommend looking at how much the credit booster is on that specific vehicle. I would make it a factor in whether or not you buy it, but not a deal breaker. You can look other videos to see when sales are throughout the year. So if you know there's going to be one near and you want to buy premium, you can just hold out and wait until then. But if you're going to buy anything more than $30, I would very much recommend to wait until a sale where it's half off or 20% off. But that's my recommendation. I'm not your financial advisor, so go to you. By using these ways, I've been able to make 2 million Silver Lions in less than 2 hours. And if you put these into practice and get used to them, you can easily do the same and never have credit problems again. I want to thank you all for watching to the end, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day. So, you're still here, are you? Since I have your attention, I would highly recommend a certain way of spending your hard-earned money, and that's